Hello, my name is Brian Johnson, and welcome to another episode of Freedom to be Free, the Freedom of Being. We're here at Urban Legend in Hamilton, New Jersey, and we wanted to come to you again with some conversations about things that might help us all to advance as we go along. One of the first things that struck me, as I sometimes want to sit here and feel a little stoic because I'm nervous about being on camera, and it's funny how that is. We can talk naturally in other circumstances and other situations, but when we get on camera, things start to change. We get a little stiff or whatever the case may be. So I'm working to overcome that, working to overcome my doubts and fears about a number of different things. And the first thing that came to my mind, actually two. One was that the joy of the Lord is my strength, and in that joy, I find all the help that I need. I find everything that swells from within me that I need. If I let it swell, if I get rid of the doubts and I get rid of the fears. And I like to say, before we begin, I'd like to share a prayer, if that would be okay. And the prayer would just be, in the name of all that is sacred, in the name of all that is holy, in the name of all that has to do with love and the care of its creation, here and far, we pray for the better parts of ourselves to evolve in this love, that there be peace and harmony, that there be joy and prosperity, that there be healing on all levels possible, and that we find the truth of ourselves, that we find our authenticity in everything that we are and everything that we do. I pray that for you, I pray that for me, all of our families, our neighborhoods, our communities, our nation, and the world at large, and every life form created herein. Having said that, I'd like to talk about what is stopping us from realizing our dreams. Again, a little bit further, what are the destructive patterns that might be within us that is stopping our dreams from manifesting? What is it that we're doing? What are the main things that stay within us that we don't even recognize? Because most of the time we don't get still enough to really see who we are. And if we took the time to really take a look at who we are, because in the still small voice there is God, and we have to be quiet enough to hear from God. We have to be quiet enough to come from the inside of ourselves out and feel that power that's already present within us. There should be, in that sense, then no doubt or fear. There shouldn't be anything that gets in the way of us manifesting the perfections that we are supposed to manifest here on this planet in this time. If we are to make heaven here on earth, as Jesus prayed, our Father who art in heaven, holy is your name, your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The only way the will gets done is if we allow the will to get done. There's a cosmic law in place, the law of God that says nothing can come into us to assist us unless we're calling for it, unless we're knocking on that door, unless we're asking in order to receive all of the gifts of God that are already present. And the irony of it is that those gifts are already locked within us. They need to be unlocked. We need to open up ourselves in order to receive the better parts of ourselves. Isn't that just an irony of some sort? So do you ask yourself, how come you're not moving forward? Are you giving yourselves those kinds of questions? Are you asking those things outside of yourself? Because usually we want to think of God as being some other space. But if the kingdom of heaven is within us, that means that the very God presence that has made us, the I am presence of our being, is already located with all the gifts and the answers that we need already inside. So why is it that we would go outside of ourselves, outside of seeing the creation of God that could bless us, but having that just to inform us or to comfort us in such a way that it gives us the permission, it gives us the word I'm looking for, it gives us the comfort and the ability, without feeling threatened, to look inside ourselves and to discover who we really are. And a lot of the stuff that we have to look at, we might not really want to, because some of that stuff, I know some of my stuff, oh my God, I don't want to look at it. But by looking at it, facing it, and then asking it to transmute it, wanting to change it, the very nature of something that we call sin is just a disconnect from the very essence and the perfections of ourselves. Those little things that we do, either the very nasties or the very subtle stuff that we would call sin, all of that is foreign to the true immaculate nature that we are. So what gets in the way of that? What are the interruptions? What are the stammering things that go on? What's the stagnant energy that's in us? Well, I found for myself that it's doubt and it's fear to the largest extent. And I also found for myself that when doubt and fear are present, that's when we have the tendency to build more pride and ego, because it's actually a protection of ourselves to keep us going. We're scared and we're full of doubt. We don't have enough confidence in ourselves to accomplish a lot of the things that we really want to. I'm not talking about the basic stuff, because most of us are going to jobs that we don't like. Most of us are doing a number of different things that we really don't want to do. And it reminds me of the Apostle Paul when he said, this sin that I do, I don't really want to do it. I'm paraphrasing him, of course. I don't really want to do it, but for some odd reason, I keep doing the same stuff over and over again, and it keeps hurting me. That is the cycle that doesn't allow us to manifest the very dreams that are within our own souls and within our own hearts. We have to ask ourselves why. I hope this resonates with a lot of different folks, because it had me going. It's my lesson for a minute. And in this minute, I intend to move through so that the next hour of my life is going to be a lot more positive, have a lot more prosperity, be a lot more healthy, have a greater attitude, a lot more joy, a lot more happiness than I've had before. And my life hasn't been horrible, but all of us can point to the different times and periods in our lives that have been affected by this very thing, the very essence of the energies of doubt and fear. So one of the ways that I am able to overcome it or face it and look at it for what it is and perpetually knock that nonsense out of my spirit is to look at the words doubt and fear and any of its cohorts as spirits in and of themselves, the spirit of doubt, the spirit of fear. And it is written in very many scriptures, Judeo-Christian tradition and other scriptures throughout the planet, that God didn't give us this kind of spirit, this kind of a fearful thing that we should be walking around on the planet, always looking over our shoulders, not sure of how life is, being so uncertain, feeling so full of doubt. We're supposed to have faith. We're supposed to be courageous in everything that we do. We're supposed to be made in the very image of God, and that image doesn't have that. That essence is not present in our perpetual living and being. And if it was that dominant in the entire creation, there'd be no creation at all, because nothing would move forward. We would be stuck in the stagnation and the paralyzing effects of doubt and fear. So I'm saying now, I'm looking at it like, here's a spirit. This is an entity that's foreign to my being. And anything that's foreign to your being, it's like looking at your home and having some intruder come in. You want to kick the tail of that intruder out. You don't want that intruder in your space. You want to allow that to happen. Unfortunately, we take the other approach when it comes to our own temples. We allow all kinds of nonsense to affect us. We spend too much time in front of the TV with these negative images that imprint and implant within our souls and in our heart force and our spirit force and around our auras, in our minds and everywhere else that has to do with our personal creation. And this is an offense to the very perfect nature of God that dwells within, because every time we do that, we are layering up more nonsense, more areas of possibilities where the spirits of doubt and fear can have their heyday within the very temple of God that we are. This cannot be allowed. You cannot allow it. I cannot allow it. We can't allow it in our families. We can't allow it in our children. We can't allow it on our property. We can't allow it in our community. We can't allow it in our neighborhoods in general. We can't allow it on the planet. And the only way you do not allow it, the best place where you cannot allow it, is within yourselves. I have to do it for me. You have to do it for you. And any of us walking fearlessly and full of faith, it's contagious. And other people get it. And the authority and the mastery that we are supposed to have, just like the masters that we pay homage to in Jesus and Buddha and so forth, all of these masters, after having learned their lessons, like Jesus, they said of Jesus, he learned this will of God by what he suffered. He learned this obedience to the very perfect nature within himself by doing the wrong stuff constantly. Somewhere along in his life, he didn't come fully immaculate. He learned his immaculacy. He grew further and further into his mastery. And although he was brilliant, spiritually brilliant, the scriptures make a great point for us so that we might get the idea that he faced some things when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was facing some things, a lot of fear. Father, please take this nonsense away from me. But nevertheless, okay, I'll get it done. Okay, that has to be our attitude. Nevertheless, we'll get it done. I'm scared to death, but I'm going to get it done. There's some doubt in me, but I'm going to get it done. Because the Spirit of God is greater in me than that which is against me out here in this world. But the funny thing is, the insidious nature of doubt and fear lurks within us, not so much on the outside. And if collectively we're all carrying it, that means that that very energy is prevalent within the community itself, in the very environment, in the atmosphere through which we walk. So we have to change the quality and the nature of that very energy so that we become more than conquerors in the very Christ nature that we are, in the very nirvanic nature that we are. So that the samadhi presence, that perfection presence of God, can have its way and its fill and its heyday through us. It changes us, it changes our family, it changes our neighborhood, it changes our community, it changes our state, it changes our country, it changes the world. One soul at a time. One soul at a time. Get rid of your fears and doubts. There's more to be said. I like to say this, I'm not really good at self-promotion, so people keep telling me talk. So I'm saying, okay, we have a book coming up called The Primary Ambition. One of those chapters has to do with the purpose of doubt and fear. Because what I didn't mention right now is that if you know it's present, then it's building spiritual muscles in you for you to get rid of it. And every time you get rid of any of those negative things that we would call the sins of our very being, it is in the insidious nature of negative spirits within our soul that have us do, think, feel things that are contrary to the very will of God that we are. They build spiritual muscles. When you start to look at them, you stop, you don't run. You take a good look at yourself, you get quiet, you get still, you give praise, you find joy in the very things of life, regardless of what's going on. You find your joy because the joy is present, and that builds more strength, and it gets a momentum within you that knocks out all the insidious nature of all the negative spirits, pardon me, that dwell and could be present among us. We clear the air, we sage it, we smudge it by our very energy, by our very positive, insistent, determined energy within us to get this done. Don't settle for anything less. Don't settle for anything less. My book's coming up, The Primary Ambition. That primary ambition is love, folks. That's it. Love. If God is love, then there's nothing else to go after. And once you get that first, once you've sought that first, and as you're finding it more and more because it continues to grow and inform itself, then everything else you need is added to you. This is the truth. Very difficult sometimes when you look at the climate of our times and this economic slavery that somebody wants us to be subject to. But you're more than conquerors. We all are. You find your joy within yourself, within a community that understands this. No condemnation in God. No accusations in God. The accuser is something else. I hope this has blessed you in some kind of way. Please like and subscribe. You're in Freedom to Be Free. My name is Brian Johnson. We're here at Urban Legend in Hamilton, New Jersey. And as usual, we like to always tell you, peace, folks. Be you. Be love. Namaste.